Hello, everybody. My name's Emma Duncan, and I'm the current president of the American Society for Bone and Mineral Research. Today, I'm with Meghan McGee Lawrence, who's the committee chairperson for the Advocacy and Science Policy Committee. Meghan, could you tell me, please, the role of the Advocacy and Science Policy Committee?
Sure. So, officially we're charged with generating recommendation in response to proposed government research initiatives, regulatory requirements, grant submission policies, especially related to things like the NIH here in the United States, and then ultimately reviewing issues that affect basic and clinical researchers within the society. But in practice, I'd say our jobs are really to work on raising awareness across the ASBMR membership of issues related to things like funding or funding related policies that could affect our research community. Often here, again, in the United States, that relates back to the NIH, but we're really working to expand that focus on a more global scale. We also help to organize ASBMR members to engage in science policy and the advocacy landscape by speaking with their legislators, such as congressional representatives here in the United States. One way we do that is by organizing annual Hill Days, either in person or virtual, where ASBMR members can go and talk to their congressional representatives about ongoing issues, advocating for the need for more funding for musculoskeletal research, things like that. But we also do that, try to broadcast ways that input can be provided regardless of the country that you're in, providing opportunities for solicited feedback, advocacy campaigns, and things of that nature as well.
I imagine this is quite a busy committee at the moment, Meghan.
It sure is. I think advocacy and science policy are always at the forefront of what we do as scientists and clinicians, things like that. But certainly there's a global, trying to think how to word that. There's a global interest right now in terms of science advocacy and how the science community is reacting to all the recent changes. So that keeps us pretty busy in terms of the discussions that we have and how we can contribute to the positive discussion about science around the globe.
It's become very apparent to me over the last while I've been president-elect and now as president, how much we benefit from working with colleagues in this space and with other like-minded societies and organisations. I mean, this really is an example of together we stand and divided we fall. And so over the last year or so, as you've come into post, I imagine you've had to build relationships right the way around the science advocacy community.
Absolutely. I think we've really benefited from the fact that there are organizations that have had a strong footprint in this area for a long time. One of those is AIMBY, who ASBMR has been partnering with recently. We've always had an advocacy and science policy presence within the ASBMR, but I think partnering with these other organizations, we can really start to expand our toolkit in terms of increasing our reach. And so, in the past, the Advocacy and Science Policy Committee has done things like Hill Days. We've done campaigns, things like that to raise awareness. But now we're moving towards things like congressional briefings, which we're really excited about here in the United States. And then again, trying to take some of the principles that drive us, whether that's clear science communication or science advocacy on a broader scale, and then amplify that really around the world. So I'm really excited to see what we're able to accomplish in the next year or so.
I know I speak for the society. We're all watching and very keen and delighted for the efforts that people are making to help not just bone and mineral research, but also research in general to make sure it's on the agenda for everybody right the way around the world. Absolutely. Can I ask you, how did you end up becoming involved with the ASBMR and then with volunteering for this role in particular?
Yeah, so the ASBMR has been one of my key scientific homes really back to my training days. I joined the society as a postdoctoral fellow, and I got involved by volunteering right out the gate. It was then called the Young Investigator Subcommittee. I think it's now morphed into the Early Stage Investigator Subcommittee as those roles have changed. But I started as a volunteer on that committee and rose up to leadership of it. I've also served on the Women in Bone and Mineral Research Committee, and then about 4 years ago, I joined this committee, the Advocacy and Science Policy Committee, as a member. At the time, I had a role in advocacy in another musculoskeletal organization. And so with an eye towards kind of combining our efforts to amplify our voice, I wanted to have a role on this committee as well, so I could try to bring the efforts of those organizations together. And then now I've risen up to the chair of that. I'm really excited to get to lead this committee and some of the things we're trying to do now.
Yeah. And do you find that the skills that you describe in terms of what you've done as a volunteer, I mean, looking at all of those different committees and now in advocacy and science policy, does that bleed into your day job?
Absolutely. I think, one of the key skill sets that you need to have effective advocacy is clear science communication, right? So we've had a lot of a learning curve, right? To realize that it's not just the science that you do, but it's how you describe it to others and talk about the importance of what you do, whether that's an immediate translation to the clinic, whether it's foundational research that helps to build momentum for something. And so I think the skill sets to becoming good at advocacy really come down to clear science communication. And that's going to help whether that's in a professional society or whether you're in front of a classroom of students. So it's really nice to be able to use those skills in multiple different parts of my career.
Which brings me to ask, and what is your day job? What is your career?
So I am currently the chair of the Department of Cellular Biology and Anatomy at the Medical College of Georgia at Augusta University. I've been in that role for about 2 years now. So I do the day-to-day of running the department, but I'm also still an active teacher and researcher. So I've got an NIH-funded lab. I'm still in the classroom giving lectures to medical students and graduate students. So it's a pretty busy, but a pretty fun career overall.
It's very busy. I was thinking that's a very full portfolio,
Yeah.
very full portfolio, and we're lucky to actually, that you bring those skills from that into our society as well. That I think it bleeds both ways. It bleeds both ways. So my very last question for you is: what brings you joy in your life outside of your professional and your volunteer roles?
Yeah, so I've got young kids at home. I've got a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter, and so keeping them entertained is I would say a full-time job on top of my other full-time job. As a family, we love camping. We love getting out into nature and just kind of unplugging for a little while. So we do a lot of camping. We try to go at least once a month when we can swing it. And then in the summertime, I'm in Georgia, so it's pretty warm down here. So in the summertime, we like to head out to the lake. We splurged on a pontoon boat, and I gotta say, pontoon is absolutely the way to go cruise the lake on a hot summer day in Georgia. So it's fun.
Oh, and a little bit of fishing off the back deck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It just sounds idyllic. I mean, I have to say, I was in America last week where Storm Fern came through, and I have to say, I would not have been very warm in Canvas camping last week. It was very cold. What do you do? I mean, in winter, how cold is it in Georgia?
It's not too bad. We occasionally get snow in Georgia, so we actually just had a snowstorm come through. Although I've been here 12 years, and I think that's the second or third snowstorm that I've seen. I will say though, historically speaking, we were really big into backpacking and hiking, things like that. But two major life changes happened. Number one, we moved to Georgia, and number two, we had kids, and so we did upgrade to a camper, like a pull behind camper that has an air conditioner in it, and a furnace as well. So that makes sense. We can camp 12 months out of the year down here, which is really nice. So.
It sounds fantastic. Look, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today, and not just to talk to me, but also to somebody else who is feeling very clingy and insisted on sitting on my lap. And this is Charlie Wolf, who has managed to stay out of the videos up till date. So thank you very much for your time.
Charlie Wolf as a committee member? Can we get Charlie Wolf as a committee member on the Advocacy and Science Policy Committee in the future? I think we'd love. I
think Charlie Wolf would love to be a committee member on the Advocacy and Science Policy. He's very keen on bones.
I can imagine.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Emma.